This is episode 15. Your challenges don't define you. However, how you choose to handle them does. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Laugh at Adversity podcast. I'm your host, Gary Savoy. Having overcome medical trauma, I've made it my mission to uncover all of the secrets to overcoming life's challenges and living a better life. Each week, I will bring you an inspiring person or message. You'll hear from some of the most inspirational people on this planet, including those who have overcome adversity firsthand. My goal is to provide you with everything you need to conquer your challenges and to turn your struggles into strengths. Hey everyone, this week's episode is going to be a little bit different from the norm. Instead of having a guest on it for an interview, this is going to be a solo show where I talk about topics that are important and are going to help you overcome adversity. But before I get into this week's episode, I just want to make sure that you head over to iTunes, Stitcher Radio, Google Play, or CastBox, and make sure you leave a rating review for the podcast so that it can be found by others and help impact their lives. This week's episode, I'm going to be focusing on student debt. Student debt is a huge problem across the nation. It causes anxiety, stress, and even feelings of helplessness in students and graduates all over. I want to help ease the stress and pain, help you pay off your debt faster, and allow you to live your life more and be able to afford a house, travel more, and move on from the ball and chain effect of your student loans. So this episode is geared towards giving you ways to help pay off your student loans faster and move on with your life. Honestly, I remember the feeling all too well. I remember being a college student about to graduate and the anxiety setting in of making sure that I got a job ahead of time so that I could start paying off my loans as fast as possible. Even after I graduated and got a well-paying job, I was still worried and trying to actively pay off as much as possible each month because I didn't want to be like other people and have student loans over my head for another 30 years and keep paying on interest and interest and interest and paying double for what the loan actually is. Before I jump into the tips, I just want to throw a few facts at you. The standard repayment plan for student loans is a 10-year track. However, research has shown that the average undergraduate takes 21 years to pay off their loans. Over 44 million Americans are impacted by the student loan debt, which now totals $1.4 trillion. And the average graduate of the 2016 class has nearly $30,000 in student debt, which is up 6% from the numbers from 2015. These numbers are astounding, and student debt is a huge problem not only for students, but parents all across the nation. Having graduated 5 years ago, the $42,000 in student loan debt that I walked away with is now gone. A temporary move to Boston, accompanied by a year of excessive spending and some unexpected medical bills from my surgery, actually caused a little delay in paying off my loans. The reason why I share those details is because I not only want to teach you how to pay off your loans faster, but I also want to tell you what didn't work. So how did I pay off $12,000 more debt than the average student graduates with in 16 years faster? By taking advantage of the following 8 options. The first option is in-school interest payments. Many private loan providers have options which allow you to pay, say, $25 a month interest payments while in school. Take advantage of this opportunity because interest is what kills you. Option 2, get a job on campus. Okay, I get it. College is all about having fun, but you can have fun and be responsible at the same time. For me, having a job on campus and full-time employment during the summer and holiday weekends allowed me to walk away campus with $42,000 in debt. Otherwise, the damage would have been much, much worse. If you're still in school, then find a work study, a campus job, a fellowship, or some other opportunity to help you pay off your loans while you're in school. On to tip number 3, save your summer earnings. Unless you're a student athlete, your summer breaks are much longer now than they were in high school. Summers are the perfect opportunity to work and save for the upcoming school year. Forget about buying that $200 pair of Jordans and pass on Lollapalooza this year Instead, put your money toward your next school bill. You may not feel great about spending your hard-earned cash now, but you'll be glad you did later. The less loans you take out now, the less debt you'll have later. Moving on to tip number 4, ignore the deferment period. Most private and federal loans provide a 6-month buffer from when you graduate to when you have to start paying. This is a privilege and should be treated as such. When purchasing a car, the dealership doesn't give you a 6-month buffer. If you're still looking for employment, that's one thing. But if you're making an income, then forget the deferment period and start throwing money at your loans as soon as possible. Tip number 5 is all about going above the minimum. And by minimum, I mean your minimum payment. A $25,000 loan at a 6.8 interest rate with a 10-year payoff track equates to monthly payments of about $288. If you can pay $500 a month instead of $288, that allows you to cut ties with that loan in just under 5 years while saving a little bit over $5,000 in interest along the way. Now, I realize that you might be cringing at the idea of paying an extra $200 each month, and maybe you don't even have the means, but even an extra $50 will reduce 2 years off that same 10-year loan and save you a cool $2,000. In the show notes, I've attached a link to the FinAid's loan calculator, which can help you make all of these calculations. But just remember, the more you pay now, the less you will pay later. Unlike a fine wine, interest gets worse with age. Moving on to tip number 6, use your tax returns. So maybe you've been looking forward to your tax return check for months. Even though the check isn't in your possession yet, you already have 10 ways to spend it. As a student and an employee, you get a better tax break. Take advantage of that. These will be some of the best tax returns that you'll ever have until maybe you purchase a home, so use them wisely. Instead of using them towards your next spring break trip, apply them towards your loans. Your future self will thank you later. Tip number 7 might not be for everyone, but if you can, stay at home. Everyone's home situation is different, but if this is an option for you to take full advantage of it. Whether it's your ego, maybe you're thinking, I don't want to live at home with my parents, or your friends are pressuring you to move out. Don't listen. The money you can save and apply to your loans, even one extra year at home, is much more valuable at this stage of your life than the independence. Tip number 8 is my final tip here, but it needs to be taken carefully. This works really well and has worked really well for me, but you need to be responsible. What I'm going to talk about here is transferring your student debt to a credit card. This step is last for a reason. If not taken seriously, it can be very dangerous. But if you're responsible, you won't become a victim of high interest percentages. At this point, you should be at the very end of paying off the final dollars you owe, and your credit score should be pretty high for making all of these payments over time. My rule of thumb here is if you have less than $7,000 total debt with your student loans, and you can get 0% interest for, say, up to 20 plus months, then this is a great option. There'll be a small transfer fee up front, but if you can pay off your card before the 0% expires, you'll save hundreds and hundreds of dollars. This is actually what I did last summer to finish off the final bit of my debt. I actually transferred over my last $7,000 and paid it off in just a few months. And I paid 0% the entire time, which is a win-win because you're basically paying yourself and you're not paying the high 6, 7, 8% interest rates to the lenders. But if you're currently a student or a recent graduate, then combining as many options as possible is a great way to set your future self up for success. However, if you can only commit to one option, that's better than nothing. Even if you've already graduated, there are still plenty of tips that you can apply here too. At the end of the day, here's my final advice. Your financial future rests in your hands. And unless you win the lottery, your loans aren't going to disappear overnight. But if you keep working at them, they'll be gone before you know it. I hope these tips to help pay off your student loans were useful for you. I'd love to hear your feedback. Feel free to jump over to the show notes at laughatadversity.com/15. I've included the financial aid link as well to calculate your student loan payoff. And I'd love for you to leave a comment. Give me your advice. Give me your feedback, what's worked, what hasn't worked. Maybe you have other options that have worked well for you. I'd love to hear your feedback and for you to share that with the community as well. And lastly, if you did find all of these tips useful, please share this to your social accounts. Share it with friends. Share it with family. Everyone that we know, someone has student debt somewhere, so please feel free to share it out and help people pay off their loans faster.